Hello, this is Shay Jackson with Hype Math. In today's video, we will be reviewing for the 2022 Texas STAAR math test for third graders. The concept we will be going over is comparing and ordering numbers, part 1. Remember, third graders, venture outside your comfort zone. The rewards are worth it. We will be going over problems that are in our third grade math workbook. The link will be in the description box so you can grab your copy today. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and click the notification bell so that you can be alerted about new videos that are uploaded. We are going to first review how to compare whole numbers. Step 1. Write the numbers and line up the place values. Step 2, begin at the left to compare digits of the same place value. Step 3, if the numbers are the same in the place values, continue until you can compare different numbers. And don't worry, we will go over examples. Step 4, write the appropriate inequality sign for the numbers. Remember, the alligator mouth always opens up to the largest number. So let's look at some examples. Which number is greater, 432 or 824? So what we said we had to do with step 1 is we're going to line up the numbers and we're going to start from the left and then move to the right. Okay, always start from the left and then move to the right. So starting from the left, we see that in the hundreds place, we have a 4 and an 8. Well, what's the larger number between 4 and 8? And that will be the answer of which number is greater. If you said 824, you are correct. The 8 is the greatest number in the hundreds place, so 824 is the larger number. Let's look at another example. We have which number is greater, 355 or 332. And remember, the first step is we're going to write our numbers and we're going to line them up with the place values. Here in our example, we see that we have 3s in the hundreds place, a 5 and a 3 in the tens place, a 5 and a 2 in the ones place. So our next step will be starting from the left, okay? The greatest value, which is the hundreds place in this example. Well, when we look at the hundreds place, what do we notice? That both of the values in the hundreds place are a 3. So what do we say our next step is? We are going to move to the next place value, which is the tens, because right now, just looking at the hundreds place, we're not sure of which number is greater because both numbers have a 3. But moving to the tens place, we see that there is a 5 in the tens place for 355, and there is a 3 in the tens place, my apologies, for 332. So what is the greatest number between 5 and 3? And that will be the number that is greater. If you said 355, you are right. And always remember that the alligator mouth always opens up to the largest number. Let's try one more example. Which number is greater, $2.49 or $2.49? Well, we see that for both numbers, we wrote the numbers down, lined them up with the place value. We're going to start with the left-hand place value, which is the hundreds place, okay? But when we look, there are 2s in both, for both of the place values in the hundreds place. Now we're going to move to the tens place. Well, when we look at the tens place, we also notice there are both 4s in the tens place for each number. So now we're going to move to the next place value, which is the ones place. And what do you know? Both numbers have a 9 in the ones place. So whenever you have a situation where both numbers have values for each place values in the same, they are equal to each other. So neither number is greater, they are actually equal to each other. So $2.49 is equal to $2.49. Now, we're going to dive into how do we order whole numbers. Just now we talked about comparing whole numbers. Now we want to talk about how to order the whole numbers, okay? And it's just 1 or 2 extra steps from what we were just doing. Step 1, write the numbers and line up the place values. Well, we did that in comparing whole numbers. Then we're going to begin, step 2, begin at the left to compare the digits of the same place value. Yep, we did that as well when we compared whole numbers. Step 3, if the numbers are the same in the place values, continue until you compare different numbers. Well, that is something we did when we compared whole numbers. So step 4, write the numbers according to the directions. So the directions will say either order the whole numbers from least to greatest or greatest to least. And of course, we have an example. Our example says, order the numbers from greatest, which means the biggest number, to least, which means the smallest number. So the numbers we're going to be ordering are 9,245, 6,082, 8,970, and 5,329. So our step 1 is write the numbers and line up the place values. And that is what we did. We see that we have 9,245, then 6,082, 8,970, and 5,329. They're all lined up neatly in the place values. Now, you may be saying, well, Miss Jackson, how do I do that? Well, all you have to do is pull out a handy dandy piece of scratch paper. You put your place values and then you line up the numbers. That way you can ensure you are doing it correctly. So let's move to step 2. Begin at the left to compare digits of the same place value. All right, so what we're going to do is look at the place value that's on the left, the furthest to the left. We see that that is in the thousands place and that it is the ones in the thousands place. Okay, so when we start from there, what we're going to do is we are going to compare the digits of the same place value. So what we're going to be looking at for the number is just looking at the ones place in the thousands period is 9, 6, 8, and 5. We don't have to worry about the other numbers for right now. That is our laser focus, the 9, the 6, the 8, and the 5. And that shows again why it's important when you write the numbers down, you put the correct number for the place values. So for step 3, we're saying if the numbers are the same in the place values, continue until you can compare different numbers. Well, all of our numbers are different, so we don't need to worry about that. So what we're going to do is move to step 4. We're going to write the numbers according to the direction. And our directions say, order the numbers from greatest to least. Great. So we're looking at our numbers. Again, we're only laser focusing on 9, 6, 8, and 3, and that's what we're going to order. Well, if we're going from the greatest, which means the biggest number, to the least, which means the smallest number, our biggest number or the greatest number is 9. Okay, so that's the greatest number, our first number that we're going to write. And then we're going to look at 6, 8, and 5. So then what's the largest number after 9? Well, it's 8. So 8,970 is our second number. Okay, so let's go over it again. We're looking at our numbers and we're going to take the greatest or the biggest number. We said that was 9, so 9,245 is our first number because we're ordering from greatest to least or from biggest to smallest. And then our second number is 8,970. Now that we have those two numbers, the only two numbers we need to look at are 6 and 5. So what's the greatest number between 6 and 5? Yes, it is the 6. So our third number is 6,082 and our last number is 5,329. So when we order our numbers from greatest to least in this example, it is 9,245, 8,970, 6,082, and 5,329. And that is it for our examples and review of comparing and ordering whole numbers. Let's dive into our problem. And again, if you would like to follow along with the problems that we do, you can purchase your third grade math book. The link will be in the description box so you can follow along and write all of the notes that we go through. We are on question number 7. The table shows the number of each kind of magazine sold in a store during 1 month. Which list shows the kinds of magazines in order from greatest to least number sold? Is it A, sports, entertainment, fashion, news? B, fashion, sports, entertainment, news? C, sports, fashion, news, entertainment? Or D, fashion, news, entertainment, sports? So let's look at our numbers that we're talking about because we know the kind of magazine, but we need to see the number sold, okay? So looking at our table, we see that on the left-hand side, it shows the kind of magazine, and on the right-hand side, it shows the number sold. So for fashion, the number of magazines sold are 1,728. For news, 1,723. Entertainment, 2,114. And sports, 2,186. So the first thing we do when we're solving a problem is we are going to ask, what are we looking for? Very important question because it determines what we're going to do. So many things, but we can't determine all those things if we don't know what we're looking for, okay? So we are looking for the list with numbers from greatest to least. Which one of our answer choices lists the number from greatest to least, okay? The second most important question is, what information can help us find the answer? So we know what we're looking for. Now we need to understand what information can help us find the answer. Well, what can help us find the answer is knowing the magazine and also the number of magazines that are sold. So again, we have fashion is 1,728. News is equal to 1,723. Entertainment is equal to 2,114. And sports is 2,186. Now we're going to see how we need to solve the problem. Well, in order for us to solve the problem, we need to compare and order the numbers starting with the greatest or the largest number, okay? We're going to start with the greatest or the largest number. So let's look at our chart. We see that our numbers are lined up, and we are going to start with the furthest place value to the left, which is the thousands place, okay? And if we notice, we see that we have 2 ones and 2 twos. So what we're going to do is ask ourselves, well, what is the greatest number between 1 and 2? It's 2. So right now, all we're going to do is focus on the thousands place that have a 2. That's entertainment and that's sports, okay? So we have the 2s, okay? Now we need to move to the next place value, which is the hundreds place. Well, in the hundreds place of entertainment and also sports, there is a 1. Again, it's the same value. So what do we need to do? We need to move again to the right to the tens place. And for entertainment, in the tens place, there's a 1. And for sports, it is an 8. And so what we're going to ask ourselves is, what is the larger number between 1 and 8? Well, if you said 8, you're absolutely correct. So we know that sports is the greatest number. And then after that is entertainment, because both of them, when we started off, we knew that those two sold the most magazines because they both had a 2 in the thousands place. Okay. So again, sports, then entertainment. Now we're going to move to focus on fashion and news, okay? So starting with the thousands place, we see for fashion and news, there is a 1. So now let's move to the hundreds place. In the hundreds place for fashion and news, they both have a 7. So now we need to move to the tens place. In the tens place of fashion and news, they both have a 2. Woo! Now we need to move to the ones place because they both have, again, just a quick review, the fashion and news both have a 1 in the thousands place, a 7 in the hundreds place, a 2 in the tens place. So now we're going to focus just on the ones place. And for fashion, in the ones place, there is an 8. And for news, there is a 3. So what's the greatest number between 8 and 3? If you said 8, you're absolutely correct. So now we can add fashion as the third greatest type of magazine sold, and then news. Okay, so let's go over it again. We said sports was the greatest number sold, and then entertainment, fashion, and then news. So now that we know that that is our order from greatest to least, let's look at our answer choices to see what is the correct answer. And one thing I will say, third graders, is when you're solving problems, it's better to solve the problem for yourself first and then compare the answer choices. That helps to increase your chance of getting the answer correct. Sometimes if you're looking at the answer choices and then you're looking over here and you're trying to solve it that way, sometimes you'll get confused or overwhelmed and you'll just mark a question. But we want you to be the greatest you can be, okay? So what you're going to do is you're going to solve the problem for yourself just like we walked through. Then we're going to compare the answer choices. So we said when we looked at the type of magazine and the number sold, Our list is sports first because it's 2,186. That's the most number of magazines sold, or the biggest number of magazines sold. Then it was entertainment coming second at 2,114. Fashion is third with 1,728. It barely made it, y'all. Then news is 1,723. Looking at our answer choices again, what is the correct answer? Drum roll, please. If you said A is the correct answer, you are absolutely correct. And that is it for our compare and order review part 1 of whole numbers part 1. Again, if you want to follow along with us, the workbooks are on sale in our store. This is Shay Jackson with Hype Math. Continue to be great.